Okay.
Check.
Just like that.
Just like that. Boom. Mic drop.
Yep. All right.
Are we going?
We're going.
We're going.
We're going to do it again.
Hello. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jeff.
And I am rewatching Supernatural.
Yes.
For the upteenth time. And I am somewhat making this guy do it with me.
No.
He's never seen it before. And so we decided I would rewatch while he watches it for the first time. However, there's a catch. And the catch is we've made a deal. And his favorite show is Star Trek. Supernatural is one of my favorite shows. And we're going to watch a season of Supernatural in exchange for a season of Star Trek of his choosing.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought into this against my will.
No.
Just kidding. Kind of. But we've now watched 4 episodes of Supernatural. This one was entitled Phantom Traveler.
And don't forget the other fun part about this whole thing of us doing the watch and rewatch.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that you work in the industry.
Yes.
So watching a show with you isn't like watching it with anybody else. You get insights, back in. So this can be us experiencing this for the first time. I'm 20 years behind the game. But it's okay because you're much further behind in my show. So
yeah, that's true.
We will get there. But anyway, so this was 104. This was Phantom Traveler.
Original air date October 4th, 2005. The episode summary is on Transnational Flight 2485, a man possessed by the spirit of the Phantom Traveler causes the plane to crash, leaving only 7 survivors left alive. Sam and Dean must exorcise the angry spirit before it attacks the survivors. The brothers realize the only way to do that is to take the battle to the skies. I don't know who wrote that summary, but it was cheesy AF.
The battle to the sky. Oh gosh.
All right, opening thoughts.
Opening thoughts is it was okay. It felt extremely Fringe. We've watched Fringe, and I know Fringe came later, so this is technically Fringe is Allo Supernatural. But the pilot, spoiler alert, to Fringe is on an airplane, and it's about a passenger going crazy for some other reason and causing a plane crash that they have to investigate the plane crash and figure out what sort of weird, unexplained phenomena caused the crash. Spoiler alert, it was the exact same storyline.
No, it was not.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It was a different supernatural explanation.
Yeah, but it's still different. Regardless, you didn't really finish your thoughts.
Well, I did like it. It was good. They are opening up a little bit more about the brothers. We're actually starting to see some depth in Dean. I do like Dean. You were cackling. You were straight up cackling at this boy's talking.
No, honestly, I mean, I'm just going to do my favorite thing now, which is Dean and how he was with his fear of flying. Like, he's walking to the back of the plane to talk to Amanda, and the plane has a little bit of turbulence, and he just slams his hand out in the seat. Like, it's just so funny. It's so funny. And then how Sam was like talking to him like he was a 4-year-old, which Dean got upset about. He was like, "Don't talk to me like I'm freaking 4." And he was talking to him really gentle and whatever. And Dean did not respond well to that. But then he's like, "Dude, you have to calm down because you're about to be possessed." And he was like, "Okay, I'll do that." It's just like Sam was trying to treat him gently because he was trying to keep him calm. But then the real way to get through to Dean was to like give him some tough love and be like, "Dude, stop it. You're becoming a vulnerability to our team, and we can't be having that." Yeah.
And that also goes back really well to what we were talking about last episode too, with Sam starting to press the dynamics that you're not the leader of this operation just because you're older. No matter how we were doing it, we're a team here.
Yeah,
because you're fallible. because he looked at him. I do like how I guess it was the actor, maybe it was the director, I don't know, but he made him take the breath. And he's just kind of slowly forcing it out and just looking over like, there, I'm doing it. Are you happy? That was pretty good. That was quite good.
Yeah. It was funny.
Well, what did you think about this one? Both rewatch and how does it rank in the overall Supernatural list of Stephaniedom?
I mean, I will always rewatch scenes where Dean is being like that. There's in seasons to come, there's more of that happens with Dean, where like this like quintessential tough guy or whatever just like turns into a puddle because he can't handle whatever this relatively small, like he could handle a freaking Wendigo no problem, but flying or some other kind of relatively low level thing. It's funny. It's so funny to watch. And Jensen Ackles does a great job with it. He goes right to the border of overacting, but then doesn't. Like he gives it right to the comical level, but not overboard. We're like, okay, dude, enough. I love it. It's so perfect. But it's hard to share my thoughts on this episode without giving spoilers. But as you can imagine, with 15 seasons, we're gonna see demons again. Like you just are. And this was the show's first go at demons, and it's very interesting because this is the only demon that is like this. So they don't follow the rules of the first demon, basically, of how it looks for the audience, basically. And so it's always an interesting thing to watch this episode and be like, that is not what you guys decided to do moving forward from here on out. It's not completely, different, but there's definitely some major differences, and it's just quite funny how this episode kind of presented it as, Dean said something effective like, they don't want anything, just death and destruction. And Sam and Dean are going to find out through these 15 seasons that is certainly not the case. So it's kind of like Sam and Dean didn't have any experience with demons prior to this episode, it seems, or very little experience. And then they're going to get a lot more experience moving forward, and just how that will change. Like if later Sam and Dean would probably watch this episode and be like, what? What? Why are you
We
looking
didn't have a talk about spoilers. This is all spoilers.
the fact that demons exist later?
No. The fact that you are continuing to tell me what's happening in the show in the future. This is spoilers. This is 100% spoilers.
I said that they figure it out. They figure it out differently. They have more experience with them, and with more experience comes more knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are spoilers.
I don't know, man. What's the point of me rewatching if you ask me my thoughts on an episode and
you start telling me about all the subsequent 14 seasons?
No.
Uh-huh.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. What you just did.
No.
These are spoilers.
I wouldn't count these as spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's not like major plot points or anything that's
So,
spoiling.
You're telling me what's going to happen?
Yeah, but it also very much lends itself to my thoughts on the episode. Like, that is 90% of my thoughts on the episode.
Mm-mm.
It is.
This counts.
Whatever.
It counts.
Also, like you keep on saying you're gonna get back at me, but I really genuinely do not care about spoilers.
What do you mean you keep saying I'm going to get back at you?
You said that in episode 1. You're like, just wait.
When you were spoiling episode 1 too?
No, I didn't spoil episode 1. I just said Jeopardy Morgan comes back.
See, that's a spoiler.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I suppose if you do it in the strictest sense, sure, but there has to be some sort of relevance to me rewatching it.
Yeah, there can definitely be re-relevance and re-enjoyment, and us talking about the enjoyment of watching this episode again for the first time. That should mean that the conversation should be about this episode.
Yeah.
You tell me about your future episodes.
So my 90% reaction to this episode, it has been since rewatching it post new demon information, is always been the same. Every time I watch this episode, I think that for most of the episode, I'm thinking about that.
Except for the first time that you watched this episode.
Yeah, but I'm not watching it for the first time. You are.
Yeah, but you're changing how I watch it now.
No, you watched it already.
You're changing how I watch the future of the show. And that makes it a spoiler. I think we're going to need to hear from some people.
Whatever, man.
We need comments about if talking about what's going to happen in the future is a spoiler or not.
I mean, it's a baby spoiler.
It's still a spoiler.
Yeah, well, it's not major plot points. And here's the thing. I actually want you to do this when we watch Star Trek.
Absolutely not. Why? What do you mean?
Because I like hearing that sort of stuff.
What sort of stuff?
And anytime that I actually have asked you for spoilers in the past, you will not give them to me. Even when I'm asking you to, you won't. And that drives me nuts.
Okay, well, let's talk about in this show, in what we're doing here. Because I would assume of the million downloads a week that we're doing right now on episode 4, that there is a mix of supernatural people. There's going to be, there's definitely already a mix of Star Trek people who are doing first watch of Supernatural. There's supernatural people who are doing first watch of Star Trek. They will be. And there's a group of people that just think that we're the cutest couple ever, and they just want to hear how we go. Obviously. The Star Trek people who are watching Supernatural for the first time, you're giving them spoilers. You're telling them what's coming.
Yeah, but I don't think that those people exist.
Listen, your lack of faith
in the Force is disturbing.
See, that was a test. You failed.
I know it's Star Wars.
Just don't get them mixed up, because that's the worst thing that you can do.
Ever.
We like to throw in lines from other shows that we've watched sometimes. I think that counts as a spoiler because you're changing the perception of what the future of the show is going to look like.
Oh, well.
Wait a minute, you said you wanted me to do it. What do you mean you want me to do it?
Because I don't know. I genuinely don't care about spoilers. Like, even if you told me a major plot point, I just don't care. Like, that's fine. I still enjoy the journey getting to there. And actually, sometimes I enjoy it more because then I can start and try and pick things out that are lending itself to that end or whatever it is.
But the surprise of the point, the surprise of Luke, I am your father, if you had known beforehand, you can't tell me that it wouldn't have changed you experiencing it for the first time.
But I did know.
Well, everybody in our generation knew because it happened before we were born.
Exactly.
But that's I use that as an example because it's considered one of the biggest plot changes. What is that called?
Twists.
Plot twists. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. See, this is why you work.
Well, if you're listening to Anna from Pitch Perfect,
No. No, you're changing the subject. No. This is about spoilers. Episode 4 is now going to be called the spoiler episode, where we talk about the ethical dilemmas and the moral obligation to not spoil.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you, man.
You and the research assistant both.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, definitely not sorry.
That's what sorry, not sorry means, honey.
All right. Anyway, back to the show. Okay, so what were your impressions other than how it relates to the next few seasons? Standalone episode. How'd you feel?
I don't know. I liked it. I liked the brothers' dynamic and how Dean has a chink in his armor, so to speak. I like that they called back what we didn't see previous character. Like this guy, Jerry, exists in this world already. We didn't see it, but it does show something to the audience that these people that get helped will call upon the brothers, this family, again, because of what they did for them. They saved them in some sort of way, helped them in some sort of way. So I like that. I also this had a lot of funny moments. The poltergeist thing.
Like, what was that?
Poltergeist. I love that movie. Hey, nobody asked you. Keep walking, and then hey, if you excuse me, I have an idiot to fire.
Cool.
I love that there was like this whole like Z storyline, and I say Z because it wasn't A, B, C, or D, but it was like the Z storyline that Jerry works in this like house of buffoons.
It was just this random offshoot like squirrel moment. I wonder where it came from. Like, did the actor show up and he's like, hey, you know what? This is still a really early, low-budget show. And, I mean, because he had more on his plate at that point. Like, that actor. We've seen him plenty of times, even at that point. So I wonder if he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to have some fun with this. I'm just going to throw some things out.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, the writer was Richard Hatem, and directed by Robert Singer. Now, Robert Singer, that's interesting because he's with the show for a very long time. He becomes a producer later on, and they name a character after him. There's a character named Bobby Singer in later seasons. I will not tell you who that character is because spoilers. But it's just kind of funny.
Thank you.
It's kind of funny that they named the character after him. But I don't recognize the name Richard Hatem, so I would be curious to find out if that was written in there. Just like Richard was just like, I'm just going to play around a little bit, even though it serves really no purpose to the story. Without those like comedic moments, it changes nothing.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Nothing.
If it hadn't been there, nothing would have been changed.
Yeah, exactly.
It maybe made a character, a one-day character, a little more endearing, but we never actually found out what agency that was either, did we? I'm going to say, didn't make whatever office that was look any more professional.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just...
It was such a random
It was so
thing.
random, but so enjoyable.
Yeah. That was weird. That was so weird.
But in the best way.
It was funny.
It was great.
It was definitely funny.
Yeah.
It felt realistic. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it does.
Some random-ass dude who's like, oh, I love that movie. Shut up. That would happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a few things that we could go from here. You tell me where you want to go. First off, identity theft and impersonating law enforcement officer, which is apparently just a totally normal thing here. We can talk about that. We could also talk about this random passenger immediately creeping people out and getting on a plane 4 years post 9/11, and it's just normal. Or something else. Where do you want to go?
Well, yeah, it is definitely a thing on Supernatural that these boys impersonate various different officials. You know, it could be a medical examiner or a FBI or...
There were 3 of them in this episode.
Yeah, and in this one, Homeland Security. I mentioned to you while we were watching, but the moment where the real Homeland Security people come, there's some sort of episode commentary out there from either a producer or director, or maybe it was Justin and Jared, because Sam and Dean get out of there as these people are, running towards them with guns, and the comment was, and Sam and Dean have super hearing?
Yeah, because as they came in, the exit was closing.
Yeah, as if they knew they were coming, but not really sure how they would have. Which brings me to another thing that I loved was Dean's homemade EMF meter that was made out of a busted Walkman, and he's like, yeah, it's homemade, and Sam's like, yeah, I can see that, and poor little sweet baby angel Dean got its feelings hurt. He's so cute.
But it ended up saving the day at the end. It's fine.
And how Jerry, Sam, and Dean all apparently know what sulfur looks like underneath a microscope. That was a jump. That was a jump, and it was done for time purposes, I'm sure, in terms of like they wanted to. What are they gonna do? Send it off to a lab and have to wait for the results? So it was just a plausible deniability, or hoping the audience just doesn't care that why the hell would these people, they don't have degrees in chemistry, like what?
Maybe the guy who loved the movie Poltergeist, he could have been a chemist. Maybe they brought him in for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are talking about Poltergeist. You have anything you need me to look at? I have an undergraduate in chemistry. I can recognize sulfur.
Yeah, it was just, that was a little bit, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you give them a pass because you know why it had to be done that way, but it's still...
Either that or you just don't pay attention to that kind of thing, so you don't notice it anyway.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah.
You did have an interesting comment whenever they, again, committed a felony by impersonating law enforcement and went into the hangar at the NTSB where the plane wreckage was at.
Yeah. I contemplated whether or not they just shot that on an empty soundstage, like just a stage where normally you would build a set, you know, maybe a house or something, or one of the many hotels that, motels actually, that Sam and Dean stay in.
You're talking about these temporary sets.
Yeah,
Like a hotel.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be temporary. Like on the show that I'm on, we have 3 or 4 standing sets that like are the home of the main character, you know, or where one of the other main characters works. And those just stay built all the time.
But if we're in season 1 on this show,
well, and
they may not have a permanent set.
Supernatural's also a unique show in which the kind of, well, at least for right now anyway, the only standing set is the Impala.
Is the what?
The Impala, the 67 Impala baby.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not going to be a set piece.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That is, if anything, that is the only standing set. I mean, it would be written in the script, interior Impala, so technically it is a location. I should say location then, not a set. There's no standing locations yet in this series, except for the interior Impala.
So there can be a version of Baby that is the car, and maybe like a green screen or something around it.
Well, a lot of that actually is green screen, and that's another thing actually that I noticed that especially during the night scene when they were driving, it was obviously shot on the stage, or at least it was obvious to me. Was it obvious to you?
Nope. Yeah, the beauty of you being in the industry is like, yeah, everybody can see this. You can see this too, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what you just said.
It was obvious to me that they shot the interior car work on a soundstage with a green screen.
Oh, you were talking about when they were doing the 5-hour drive to get to Amanda.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm tracking.
It actually, it might not have been a green screen. It could also have been monitors on the outside with whatever they want the landscape to be on the outside. I'm not positive which one it was. With the night stuff. It wouldn't have been that. But it's interesting because being that the interior Impala is one of the only, actually is the only location that, you know, lasts throughout the series.
That's true, because every episode so far has been in a completely different state.
Exactly.
So they're not going to have any consistencies yet.
Exactly. And, you know, there are some locations that come and go in other seasons, but the Impala is really the only one that stays through. And because of that, they got really good at shooting the Impala on the stage. I think I read or heard somewhere that they developed like new techniques with lights in order to make it look more realistic that are now used on other sets. I think I heard or read something about that, because when I watched this episode, especially with the night work, I'm like, oh man, they got way better at it in later seasons. Like, that's pretty bad compared to what they do in later seasons. But the fact that you didn't realize it means they actually did a pretty good job. I realized it, though.
Some of that is just going to be, I don't know what to look for. You know, the only time I've seen an actual real set, which is part of your daily life-ish, the only time I've ever seen a real set is when you took me to set. Everything else that I've seen are the random glimpses on TV when I'm totally nerding out on a show. I will leave that show unnamed, but that's the only time I've ever seen it, so it's totally normal for you. So even if I'm looking at specific details, I am usually looking in the complete wrong direction. There have been a few times where we've been watching something and I'm in the mode of I'm going to try to find something that breaks the fourth wall or whatever, and I'm just wrong. Like in this episode when Sam, they're driving down the road and Sam's on the phone pretending to be the airline, calling around to survivors to try to talk to him. Like, that window seems like it's down because his hair is blowing, but he's on a 2005 cell phone. Like, there's no way in the world you'd be able to have a phone call while doing that. And I'm looking at the wisps in his hair. I'm not looking at the light reflection in the car. And so I just completely miss it because I don't know what to look for as an indicator. But since you're around it often, you know the features that make it obvious. You know because you get to see as they're doing the light work to make the car. So you know what to look for.
The thing is, I can't necessarily point to anything specific that makes it obvious to me. I'm sure that a director of photography, camera person,
Sure.
or a gaffer who's the head of the electrical department could, or grip. I'm sure they could be like, oh, well, because of this and that specific thing.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that actually create that. But for me, it just, I don't know. There's like a level of it's not real looking, I guess. And I think also knowing what goes into doing it the real way helps too. Because you have to get like a process trailer and stuff, and that's a lot of work and it's expensive. So, and part of it too is knowing that they don't have a big budget on this show. And I'm sure on this episode they blew almost all of it on the CGI plane work that they had to do.
The ILM level plane work.
Yeah. And side note, I'm still very upset about the music. I wish they just have no music at all because it literally ruins moments for me. Having this insert music that they have, it just ruins it for me. I'd rather it be silent.
We're going to lose so much of our conversation topics once we find whatever the DVDs and can go back to the originals.
Well, I need to find them. I don't know what I need to do. I might need to buy them.
Well, yeah, I hear you about the lighting, and this isn't your area, but you know it when you know that it's off, even if you don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
Quarter Crew does a really good job of talking about good and bad CGI. And the thing about bad CGI is you may not know what's wrong about it. It just doesn't look real. You don't really know why. Now, if a professional will slow down the graphic and show you, like, hey, on the CGI'd image, the shadow is going the wrong direction and it's different from all the other shadows, but it's a split second. But it's enough to trigger to your brain that something's just not right. And that's what makes it unbelievable, is that it's just not quite right. Like, when you see a car, and whenever you describe it looking realistic, I just imagine lights crossing over the top of the car, over the hood. That may not be what it is. That's just what I'm imagining. But if you don't see it, your brain may still catch that detail.
Yeah, I think with the night... Well, wait, hold on. Another question for you. Did you notice that they were actually driving in the daytime driving work too?
What?
So basically, as far as I know, and as far as I could tell, all of the interior Impala, meaning we're shooting within side of the Impala, like, looking at Sam over, whatever, like all of that, as far as I could tell, was all shot on a soundstage or somewhere stationary. The car wasn't moving and
Actually driving.
Correct. It was not shot actually driving.
Because I think
The daylight stuff was more obvious to me in a lot of ways because of the quality of the images on the outside of the car.
Well, that's what I'm forgetting, I think, because the only daytime baby shot that I can think of was when we found the little microphone things, whatever those are. We'll figure that part out later. But they were standing outside the car, leaving a place. No, it was when they picked up the fake IDs outside of the copy shop, and then they got into the car, but the car never moved. So it was just they were standing outside of it. They climbed into it.
Well, they drove also when they were driving to meet Jerry. There was some in there.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, we had both driving night, and I think this is the first time we had night driving on this show. I think where they're in the car talking during the night and it's driving. I think.
Other than an establishing shot.
Yeah, interior Impala. So the daytime stuff was more obvious to me because the mimicking the lighting was better than the nighttime lighting, but the quality of the images of the passing scenery was what caught my eye. And again, in later seasons they do it so much better, so it's
You're talking about passing images like you were talking about the screens that just have something on it passing by. That's lower quality?
That or green screen. I'm not sure how they did it, especially in earlier seasons. I've seen it done both ways in my career. I mean, really what it is, like the current show I'm on, we use green screen, and really what it is essentially three walls of green, and you stick the car in it, and there's lights, and you direct them in the way that you need to in order to mimic sunlight or whatever it happens to be. Then you stick a camera through the side of the window or through the front windshield. And
That's so cool.
And
that's so cool.
And then the green is just the VFX later puts in plate shots was what they call them. They will like literally send a plate car out to get footage just of passing buildings.
A plate car?
Yeah, it's a car meant for shooting plate shots. It's rigged for that.
What does that mean? What does a plate car mean?
It's a car that has rigging on it in order to shoot pass-by scenes.
You just said that. What is a rigging? What is it? Cameras that shoot out all the windows?
Yes.
Oh, I guess it is that easy, isn't it? And so then they just take what the camera gets and puts it on the green screen.
Yeah, and they'll get a lot of different angles of it because you need a lot of different angles of it. But so yeah, and like a lot of times when you shoot, and it's not just with car work, like if you shoot I'm trying to think of a good, I mean, I guess in this episode it would be when the plane crashed into the field. In order for the VFX department to create that imagery of the car or the plane crashing through, they had to at some point take a plate shot of that scene empty, so that VFX would have something to work with to put it in. So oftentimes when we do VFX elements, we on the day will have a VFX person there to assist the crew in getting plate shots in the way that they're needed in order for the VFX guy and his whole team or her whole team to be able to accomplish what they need to do in post.
Okay, so for the plane, if somebody's not rewatching or watching for the first time, the scene when the captain got back into a twin prop and he ended up going down again 40 minutes into the flight, but when the plane crashed, there was this just scene of farmland with a power pole. Plane went through the power pole and crashed. So that somebody went out and just shot an empty video of a farm or farmland, maybe with a power pole in it, maybe not. And then VFX went in and crashed the power pole and had this plane coming through the shot.
Exactly.
Got it. That's why one looks... Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You can see very visibly see the difference in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Shooting of very high definition, clean shot of the farmland, and the plane looks just frame rate's just too low or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's also budget too, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
But regardless, yeah. They did a lot with what they had, I think. This show I think did a lot with I'm going to repeat what I just said. They did a lot with what they had. They didn't have very much, but they did a lot with it. I literally have said that 3 times.
Yes, you did. And so that explains why, because I was commenting while we were going through that the the shots on the plane, all the scenes on the plane at the end of the episode looked like they were really on a plane. Everything looked solid. Everything looked small and cramped and condensed, as opposed to like the characters are sitting down and they've got 12 feet of foot room in front of them because we have to see them. But no, in this case, you could legitimately see like all the shots were kind of from the side because they had seats right in front of them. And when they were in the back of the plane and you could see the stewardess in the front of the plane getting the co-pilot, it felt like she was close enough to be able to actually see her lip movements and see gestures. That plane felt small and cramped.
I'm not sure if they would have shot on a real plane or not. That probably would have been quite expensive. I mean, I did work on a movie that was 90% on a plane, and they just built a plane inside of a inside of a soundstage. But I feel like that would be really expensive for Supernatural to have built an entire plane on a soundstage, but because that's a lot. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking it's way more work than it actually is. But
as opposed to alternatively just getting an actual plane and shooting on it for a day
I mean,
or 4.
I think what you said in Wendigo though could also be true, which is that maybe there was another show around that had a plane and they repurposed it to shoot on that.
Yeah, because they were in Vancouver,
In
right?
Vancouver,
Okay.
yeah, and plenty of things shoot in Vancouver, so it's possible that they able to rent it from another show or something, or maybe they built it. It's a big build. It's a really big build for a show like Supernatural, because as you mentioned in a previous episode, having to turn things around is no joke. I mean, I know on the show that I'm on, when we have to create something from scratch, we can never have it early on in the schedule because our department simply doesn't have time to build something that big. Now we have some sets that we will repurpose. I'm sure on Supernatural there is a hotel room set that they just keep on changing into different hotel rooms. So that's probably a quick turnaround. But a thing like a plane, that I just don't know how they could turn it around so quickly, because a lot of the work was done on that plane. There was at least 2 days of work on that plane, I would say. So I mean, maybe it's possible that they built it, but if they did, then, good job at art department. Kudos to you, because nothing against the art department that I work with, but I don't know if they would be able to pull that off in the amount of time that they get. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, what happens is that you are prepping an episode while the other episode is shooting. And so my department, there's a first AD and a second AD and then a second AD. And the first and second AD prep and then shoot, and then prep and then shoot. Most everybody else, there's the shooting crew that only just shoots. That's all they really handle. They just shoot. They don't worry about the next episode, really. But then there's a handful of people, like the heads of those of a lot of departments, have to handle 2 episodes at once. And so they're constantly prepping for the next episode while still handling what's going on set. And so that's why it's quite difficult for an art department to turn something around, because they're still building stuff for the episode that's happening right now. They can't just drop everything to build an airplane for episode 4 because episode 3 is shooting right now and they have something that needs to be built before the end of their schedule. And so it's possible that they made it so that trying to think of the previous episode. I don't think they didn't really have very many builds in that one, I don't think. So maybe they planned it that way so they had more time to build the plane. It just depends on how much lead time they had for the plane, but I think
it's one of those things. Yeah, we need to either do the research ourselves or we can do the lazy version to say if some fans, some listeners have figured this out, or if they've done the research, or if they're supernatural fans.
Christy.
Research intern. I see.
Executive producer.
Yes. We're just changing her title as we go through. But would love to hear. So comments or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to know. I think it's interesting to think about. And then you go back and watch that scene again, and it's like, okay, how much of this was reality and how much of it was manufactured for our imagination as viewers? How much of it was, how did you actually pull this off without actually putting a plane in the air and crashing it,
Yeah.
I find the exploration interesting because it's very high end. Like this is a very, very professional industry that has learned so many tricks and tips to pull the wool over our eyes to make us believe what they want us to believe. I think that's really interesting.
I have no idea where I saw it, but I saw something. I was watching something where a couple or a family or whatever who were quite wealthy had this new house and they wanted something inside of it. I forget what it was, but a bunch of like builders or construction people were like, no, we can't do that, or it's not possible, or whatever it is. And then they went to the film industry, and the film industry people figured out how to make it happen. And it wasn't because of a code thing or anything like that. It was just like, they just they couldn't figure out a way to make whatever it is that they were looking for. I wish I had more details on this.
I know. I really want to know what.
I'm really sorry. I wish I had more details. It was a long time ago that I heard about it or saw it, but that tracks. Like the film industry, kind of our whole thing is like figuring out how to make something happen, figuring out how to make non-reality real. We are, in a lot of ways, professional problem solvers. And the creativity of problem solving and figuring out a different way of doing something, like how to accomplish this thing that doesn't actually exist in real life, I think is a brain exercise that lends itself to whoever this couple is that was looking for they were looking for this solution to their problem. And these people that do standard, building a house and whatever it was, they just don't oftentimes have to think that way. Probably that's not their everyday. Yeah. But in my industry, every day people are exercising that muscle. And the more you exercise something, the more you experience of creative problem solving, the more tools you have in your toolbox in order to create creative solutions.
I think that the part of the entertainment of believing the illusion as a viewer is to be tricked by it, and then to understand how we were tricked by it. Like when we went down to, and you showed me the set, I found it absolutely fascinating that this 2-story house wasn't actually 2 stories. Mm-hmm. They're side by side. That you see stairs that shows your mind. You go down or you go up from this point, but then you go down just long enough. The visually, you're only going down farther enough to get the shot. But as soon as you go down and look at the turn in the stairs, it goes into nothingness. So we like to figure out how we were tricked. This is why we go watch the behind the scenes. This is why we try to figure out how certain things are shot, how sets are built, or whatever. We want to be fooled. And then we want to know how you fooled us.
I mean, I wouldn't say everybody likes that, but people like you for sure.
If you like any kind of fiction, then you like to be fooled.
Yeah, but doesn't figure out how you were fooled is the next step, and not everybody cares. But
okay, you can have that. Yeah, you can have that. I get it.
All right, what's on your list over here?
Yeah. All right, I had a very, very short mention that I missed the flip phone. Man, they plugged it in. They plugged it in multiple times. You hear the classic 8-bit ring. It just felt like a Nintendo. And then just the way that phone just popped open. Mm-hmm. I so miss that. I miss that world. The authority of flipping that phone open. Exactly. Oh, yeah. That's when you know it's over. You get finality in the phone call. Wait, were you a full, like a wrist flipper to close the flip phone, or were you an index finger closer? Yeah, throw it back. Make the hand gesture. Muscle memory.
I think I used my other hand.
Oh, what?
I don't know. I certainly
driving?
I certainly wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't like, I'm so cool, I'm gonna flip it with my wrist.
Of course not. But I think there were so many. I think everybody had their own way.
I feel like I would need to hold a phone again in order to figure out what it was.
Well, future episode, I've still got my Motorola Razr.
Yeah, I still have
classic.
I still have mine too, but it's not here.
We're going to pull these out. Once we start filming episodes, we're just going to have to get some flip phones out. We're going to have to do this before we get too far down the road, because if we get into the future seasons and they've switched out, if it's after the iPhones come out and they start using iPhones.
It might have been with my pinky, like the bottom of it pushing
you are
pinky.
Currently, for everyone listening at home on the radio, you are holding your iPhone.
Yeah, but I'm like
broad-fingered, like it's a flip phone.
They're so
that tells me that while you held the phone, you did put your index finger up by your ear.
Yeah, probably.
I just love the idea of how many people listening at home right now have their hand up by their face, like clamshelling their palm to try to mimic how they used to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think I close it with my pinky. Like it was down by the bottom and I just click.
From the bottom to the top?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, because
We had
that's
such
the bottom.
different childhoods.
Because the bottom comes out of the top.
No, it does. No.
Yes, it does.
No, absolutely not.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yeah, because the bulk of the phone is the top part.
The essence of the phone is the bottom. Just the top comes off
No,
of the bottom.
The phone, the bottom is just the numbers.
What are you talking about? The bottom of the phone was the source of the T9.
Yes,
This is
the
where
numbers.
texting came
The
from.
numbers, yeah.
The base of the phone was the everything.
I don't think so.
No way, man. All right, we are going to have to come
All
back
right,
to this.
tell us about this.
We have to come back to this. Okay, if you were listening, please go back to however you listen to the podcast and drop in some comments because we need to get closure on this issue. Do you close from top to bottom or bottom to top? The answer is top to bottom. I cannot believe he just said that. Additionally, how did you close? Did you close both hands? Did you close index finger, throw it down? And also, if you are under the age of 30, then just don't comment because we don't need to hear it. We have to come back to this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Regardless, it felt really, really good to be able to see. It felt like a good memory. And once we go back to some good Star Trek, if we watch some original series stuff, then, this is where this all started. All of cell phones came from Star Trek, and every Trekkie knows this. So you have to see. Well, after the phone call from Dean, there was one other thing that I found, like Jeff's prediction corner, where I get to dig my own grave in the preposterousness, because that's a word, of some of these predictions. After the possessed co-pilot said, I know what happened to your girlfriend, or I know what happened to Jessica. Yeah.
Your girlfriend, yeah.
He knew, and Dean's immediate answer was that they read minds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I believe the simplicity of that answer. There would be an implication that this creature, while it's being tortured by being sprinkled with holy water, is rummaging through all of the file cabinets of Sam's mind and finding this weak point. Or Sam was thinking about it actively while he's fighting the creature while they're 30,000 feet in the air. Yeah, exactly. Neither of those really line up. Here's the Jeff prediction part. This could have been the first glimpse into a much bigger picture. That maybe these guys are this is not just two brothers and the dad rummaging out to whatever Fringe events they can find. Do you see what I did there, Fringe? Tried to tie it in. That potentially, I don't think it's organized. I don't think there's this huge network of consortium of evil folklore villains anonymous. There could be. I'm just not sure yet. But there is definitely an insight that these bad guys know who these brothers are. They are known.
Wow.
That's my Jeff's prediction corner.
Wow.
For this episode. But they gave us a little bit of an insight. Like, this wasn't who are these two random dudes that attacked my host on an airplane. This was a demon who was kind of fighting for his life in a certain way, backed into a corner and trying to get a word in to maybe self-protect. And so he cut back. That's my Jeff's prediction corner. That's my finance.
Supernatural fans
we need to
have thoughts about what you just said.
Good. Well, let's bring it back around, and I will come back to this moment at whatever minutes into 104. We'll have to come back to this because I honestly have no idea what the hell I just said until we get there, and we're going to do this on the flip side too.
Yeah. So
as we get further and further.
Speaking of corners, you have a prediction corner. I have a corrections corner. Our executive producer, Christy, let us know a couple episodes ago. I talked about how Supernatural was maybe.
Oh wait, sorry. Was there anything else about this episode before we go into corrections corner?
We can always circle back.
Okay, yeah, well, that's right. It's our podcast.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want. But I talked about how Supernatural may be the only or one of the only, I couldn't remember, shows that went from the CW or from WB that made the cut getting onto the CW. I couldn't remember. All I know that it was a huge celebration for Supernatural fans, but I couldn't remember if it was the only one or one of the only ones. I couldn't remember. So Christy comes in with the information, the facts of the matter as they are.
Have we verified this information?
Christy's the executive producer. She knows all.
I thought she was the research and incentive.
Okay. Only 7 shows survived the WB to CW merge. Beauty and the Geek, Gilmore Girls, One Tree Hill, Reba, Smallville, Supernatural, and Seventh Heaven.
Oh, Smallville.
Smallville's a good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Jensen Ackles, actually, who plays Dean, he had a guest role on Smallville before being on Supernatural.
Cool.
He played, I think, a football coach or something. Yeah.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. So, least favorite thing from the episode.
Yeah, we already did your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Least favorite. I don't know. I might need to come back around to least favorite because when we finished the episode, I checked my watch. Like I was like, hey, was this a full length episode? Because it felt very, very short, which it didn't register to me as fun or enjoyable above 103. But it did. That's obviously an indicator that I was having fun. I was enjoying myself. I want to say more about the brothers' dynamics or the fact that we don't really know jack shit about Dean. And we got all of those things in this. We got to see a glimpse into Dean's personality that he does not like flying. Why? We're not entirely sure yet, but it's, we'll get there. We saw more of their dynamics. They did not, like they did in 103. My complaint was that they talked about Dad at the beginning, almost like they checked off the box, and then he didn't come up again. And this one was legitimately built around a relationship that their dad had had in the past. So we got to actually meet a new person that was part of the history. So they did everything right. And they pointed toward what's coming as in something that's, this is a bigger story. Feels like the entire first season, maybe second season of a show should be expanding the story and pointing toward an arc. And they did that. They really, really did that. I found it, nice by the end of the episode. I find that I'm looking forward to see what happens next, both in a next episode, but also bigger picture throughout the remainder of the season, and help 14 seasons and 18 more episodes or something like that. We got a long way to go, and I'm finding myself now more so than from the beginning of the episode. I want to see more about what's coming. So I'm not sure if I have a least favorite in this one. We just did good.
I think my least favorite, for reasons which can be revealed later potentially, is the demon black stuff.
The demon gnats?
Demon gnats, yeah. That's kind of what they look like. I want to say, even when I first watched it, I was like, what is that?
Yeah. That is a blob of gobbledygook.
And again, I'm not coming for anybody. It's, early aughts, VFX, low budget. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh God,
it's still cringy.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's definitely crazy. Well, and that's what I was looking back whenever the surviving pilot was getting ready to go onto the plane, and they had the swarm of gnats coming at him. And then it kind of floated around behind him. I was like, wait a minute, are they actually going to go through the effort of showing how this thing gets into his body? I don't know if you noticed this when we were doing it.
Well, they didn't for the first guy.
Yes, they did. Yeah. But then they were giving us so much focus on going into the pilot. I'm like, are they going to show it like going into his mouth, or we're going to do Green Mile style, or is it going to go into his nose? Like, what is it? And then I just noticed it just phased into his face, and it just poofed out, and it was gone. I was like, oh,
it did go into his eyes a little bit.
It started to a little bit, but it was definitely like a full face. This was a poor entry.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
So yeah, I think that's my least favorite part. Story-wise, I kind of already mentioned like the way that it kind of changes in seasons forward. And so I guess maybe that favorite thing. Oh, I already did my favorite thing. What's your favorite thing?
My favorite, I mean, the flip phone,
Really?
obviously.
Honorable mention for the flip phone.
Yeah, of course. No. Dean did not have a love interest in this one.
Oh.
They had this like catch of a moment where an extra walked into the door at the copy shop, and as soon as they did that, I was like, oh gosh, they're gonna do it. But they really just they let it go. Yeah, they didn't. They're not creating a pattern of, okay, Dean's always going to get eyes, and poor little brother Sam, who is, by the way, the Stanford grad, who is on his way to law school. No, he doesn't get anything.
Well, I think it's quintessential though. Charming, sociable Dean versus that's not Sam's thing. Like, you're a charming, sociable guy, and when we met hundreds of years ago, you had a gaggle of girls.
Oh my God.
It's true, guys.
No.
I'm telling you, he'll say no, but it's absolutely true. I will swear an oath. He had a gaggle of girls that had crushes on him, and he's great, but a lot of it has to do with putting yourself out there and being charming and being sociable, and that's just not Sam's lot in life. He's a good person, individual, Stanford grad, whatever, but he doesn't put himself out there. He's not necessarily charming. So he's not the type of person that gets random stranger girls, because he just doesn't, that's just not what he does. That's Dean. Dean's personality lends itself to it. Now, does Dean's personality lend itself to like a long-term relationship like Sam had? Maybe not. We'll have to see. But Dean's personality lends itself to being able to pick up strangers. That's not really Sam's personality.
No.
Even if he wanted it, which I don't think he does, especially not right now, even if he wanted it, his personality doesn't, it's not where he flourishes.
Yeah. Well,
as far as...
Yeah, and as far as enjoyable experience watching a show, especially of an episodic nature like this, if they are consistent about being episodic without being too checkboxy, formulaic, because like I know that the more they can replicate scene 1, scene 3, or act 1, act 3, the more of that they can do, the easier it is to be able to make the show. But the more they can break out of it from a narrative style, I think it'll be much more enjoyable. That they'll establish patterns without phoning it in. If Dean just gets a girl every single episode, which means we have to have a girl side character of this random state that we're in, it's going to get boring.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do it this time.
In fact, we did the opposite with Dean. We kind of made him a little bit of a sissy.
Yeah. A lovable sissy.
Yeah.
But
adorable.
we found a chink in the armor for his macho-ness, for sure, which I thought was really good. So I think maybe that's my favorite part, is that they are moving a story along really well, and I can't wait until it's like every episode is a layer, and I can't wait until we have a lot more layers in this onion.
Yeah.
See what I did?
My honorable mention, which isn't my favorite part, my honorable mention is Poltergeist Guy. I know we talked about it already, but that's my ultimate honorable mention. The Z storyline. Whoever came up with that, chef's kiss. Loved it. No notes.
Well, I mean, anything in finality, either episode or show. Or...
Well, next episode is Bloody Mary, and I love this episode. A lot of it has to do, I mentioned it when we finished this one, I saw that it was next. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Bloody Mary is such a iconic story that is told.
The actual Bloody Mary.
Yeah, Bloody Mary story is such an iconic story that most kids would have heard growing up. And I love that they covered it. I love the way that they covered it. And obviously we can talk about it when we actually watch the episode, but I'm very excited for it. I love it. I love it. It's so good. I wish that we had I said this, I wish we had watched that one tonight, even though obviously we had to watch 4 before 5, but I was just like, oh God, I wish we had watched that one, but till next time.
That sounds exciting. Well, then in that case, same thing as last time. If there's anything that you like, that you want to see more of, any questions for somebody who works in the industry and who can also enjoy watching TV, like, comment, subscribe, comment, share down below.
And until then, be fun and fabulous. Fierce and fabulous. Oh my gosh, I messed it up. I'm sorry, Raphael. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Well, then, until next time. Oh, that's right. We've been practicing. Okay. Until next time.
Remember, the driver picks the music.
And shotgun cuts his cake hole.
Oh my god.
This cake hole.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I was so focused on the word shotgun that I forgot the word that comes next.
Don't worry, we'll get it eventually. We have 15 seasons
Exactly. We've got more practice
to perfect this.
All right. Well, then we will see you in the next episode.
Bloody Mary.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.